Here are the 5 most electrifying second-year breakout candidates for the 2025 season. I'm Matty Kiwoom. Welcome back to the channel where we turn your draft dreams into championship screams, baby. These guys are so explosive, they'll make your lineup look like it just chugged a Red Bull, gave you those wangs. And forget last year's rookie flops. These are the second-year players that are going to break out in 2025. So grab your cheat sheets, mute your boss's Zoom, and let's get this hype train rolling. The first guy I'm going to talk about today is the quarterback from the New England Patriots, Drake May. Last year as a rookie in 2024, he finished the season as QB 24. He had 2,697 total yards from scrimmage, contributed 17 total touchdowns, and averaged 14.4 fantasy points per game. It wasn't all roses. It wasn't all rainbows. It wasn't all great for a Patriots fan like myself or for fantasy managers, but there were some encouraging signs. He had a 32.4 rushing yards per game, 7th highest amongst quarterbacks. He had 13 money throws, 11th highest amongst quarterbacks last season. And some of his accuracy metrics, things like completion percentage under pressure, were very encouraging despite his supporting cast. I mean, the offensive line was terrible. The pass-catching weapons were no good, and he still was able to show poise and deliver the ball accurately, and there are metrics to back it. So those are some encouraging signs for Drake May. Now, what has changed? What's going to cause this second-year breakout? What's going to propel Drake May to break out in 2025? Well, they used the 4th overall pick to cover his blind side. They drafting Will Campbell from LSU with that 4th overall pick. And they made a number of acquisitions this offseason to improve the offensive line. The offensive line should be vastly improved in 2025. And they did make a concerted effort to add playmakers. They signed Stephon Diggs and drafted Kyle Williams. Both wide receivers are separators. Both are very QB-friendly wide receivers, so that should help Drake May. And not to mention, Mike Vrabel is the head coach. They now have an adult running the show. The operation should run a whole lot smoother with Vrabel. And when you take all of these things, you put it all together, Drake May is a great candidate to break out in 2025. And look at his ADP right now. You can get him after round 10. He is one of the quarterbacks that I'm willing to take late. If you want to talk about that late round QB strategy, Drake May might be your guy because he's poised to break out in 2025. The next player I'm going to talk about is a wide receiver from the Chicago Bears. Chicago is Romelle Dunn. Last year, he was wide receiver 49. He had 54 catches for 734 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, only averaged 8.5 fantasy points per game. It was a pretty crowded offense for a rookie like Romelle Dunn to truly shine through, but there were some encouraging signs when you look at his analytical profile. 18 red zone targets, was top 10 in the league. When Caleb Williams is trying to find pay dirt, when he's trying to get those high value throws and make some big completions, he was looking Romelle Dunn's way. He had a 54.5% contested catch rate. That was 13th highest in the league. And he did have 917 unrealized air yards. That's the 2nd highest in the NFL amongst qualified wide receivers. And unrealized air yards means there was a lot of incompletions deep. There was a lot of air yards not converted for Romelle Dunn. We're hoping to get a lot more of that, to convert in 2025. And when you look at his fantasy points per game over his fantasy points per game, he was expected to score 5.2 more fantasy points per game. So there's a lot of regression to the mean positively in store for Romelle Dunn. Now, what has changed? Well, there's no Keenan Allen. Yes, they do have Luther Burden, but Keenan Allen was a big-time target getter over the middle. Romelle Dunn in his 2nd year with Caleb should be higher than Luther Burden in the pass-catching hierarchy. And when you look at the games in which Romelle Dunn played and Keenan Allen didn't, he scored 7 more fantasy points per game without Allen on the field. That's huge. Then you factor in Ben Johnson, offensive guru, as the new head coach, and another year under the pros, under the tutelage for Caleb Williams, the development for their quarterback. You take all this together, that's a perfect recipe for a breakout candidate, and you can get Romelle Dunn after round 6. Pretty decent value, but either way, I'm looking at Romelle Dunn to break out in 2025. Speaking of the Chicago Bears, I'd like to talk about another one. Quarterback Caleb Williams. As a rookie, he finished as QB 16. He had 4,024 total yards from scrimmage, added 20 TDs, and scored 15.3 fantasy points per game. There's a lot that has changed in Chicago. And even with the down year as a team, even though Caleb Williams didn't really produce in a matter of which we kind of all hoped, given the 101, given the hype, given the prospect profile, all that stuff. But there were some, when you look under the hood, you pop the top, look under the hood, there were some encouraging signs in his analytical profile. He had 82 carries. That's 7th highest amongst quarterbacks. And he did rush for almost 500 rushing yards. Again, 7th most amongst quarterbacks. So he was a lot more mobile than I think we expected. He finished top 10 5 times last year. So if you were relying on him as an option in those weeks, you got massive, massive production 5 times in his rookie season. And he had the 12th highest expected fantasy points per game at 18.3. A lot of fantasy points left on the table. And I think a lot of that was due to his coaching, due to his kind of lack of offensive line, kind of having to scramble around a lot. But a lot has changed in Chicago. Again, Ben Johnson, new head coach, offensive guru, quarterback guru. Goff, his quarterback in Detroit, was QB 11 in 2023 and QB 7 in 2024. When you look at the points per game basis, finishing that high proves what Ben Johnson can do for his quarterback. And the Chicago Bears are loaded with weapons. They did lose Keenan, but they added Colston Loveland in round 1, Luther Burden in round 2 of this year's NFL draft. So that will just, it's just I mean, there's so many weapons for Caleb to throw to. And with the improvements in the interior of the offensive line, we're hoping that Caleb has more time, has a chance to throw the ball downfield, and can still make some plays with his legs. Now, when we look at the schedule also, this is really not changed. This hasn't changed, but it does help with us projecting favorable numbers for Caleb Williams. The Bears will play the 4th place in division schedule. So their division is tough, but they will be indoors in Minnesota. They get an indoor game in Detroit, both project to be potential shootouts given the offenses. And then you look around the league and they got a 4th place schedule. So they should have a pretty good schedule for Caleb Williams and the boys. Right now, Caleb Williams in drafts is going after Brock Purdy, after Bo Nix, after Justin Herbert as QB 14. I still want Nix over Caleb in redraft, but I want Caleb over Brock. I want Caleb over Herbert. I got Caleb Williams as a top 7 quarterback heading into this season, and that's why Caleb Williams is poised for that second-year breakout. I'm going to talk about a running back here, and it's tough. The 2024 running back class was no bueno, but I do want to talk about the Arizona Cardinal, Trey Benson. Last year, he finished as running back 69. Nice. He had 69 very nice touches. I'm not kidding. Those are actual stats. I'm not making that up for comedic purposes. He was RB69 and did have 69 touches, both of which nice. 350 yards from scrimmage, only 1 TD, scoring 3.6 fantasy points per game. There's just a lot of room to break out. And you might be asking, why? Why would you pick this as a second-year breakout? Well, there were some encouraging signs despite the lack of production on the field. 4.5 true yards per carry. And when you look at James Conner's profile, like his usage profile, how often he was used, that can translate to Trey Benson if there were an injury or a fall off for James Conner. And what's changed this year? What's going to cause breakout? Well, nothing. But that's kind of what's great for Benson. They didn't bring in any more running backs. They didn't add a whole lot to that room. They extended James Conner, who's not getting any younger. And then they kept Trey Benson as their number 2. And there was some pretty good coach speak or GM speak at the combine regarding his role and his talent as a player and how they see him being used in 2025. So at worst, it looks like he's going to get at least more of the touches. And then at best, an injury or maybe a usurping, a leapfrogging of the depth chart is possible given the ages of these two backs. That would be great for Benson. Then when you look at the team as a whole, they were 11th in team runs per game. They ran the ball a ton. Great for Benson. And if Connor does, like I mentioned, if he gets hurt, if he's ineffective, Benson's going to feast. That usage translates 1-to-1. And then Benson is an absolute beast. And you can get him after pick 150. He's really, really cheap in redraft leagues right now. So for fantasy football, give me some Trey Benson late. Sit back, wait, hope he gets the bigger role, hope he takes over. And if he does, Trey Benson is poised for a second-year breakout. The last player I'm going to talk about is a wide receiver from the Buffalo Bills, Keon Coleman. Last year, he was wide receiver 71, only 29 receptions, but he did have 556 receiving yards, pretty good downfield action for the rookie, 4 TDs and 8.6 fantasy points per game. Not a whole lot to sink your teeth into on the surface, but let's pop the hood. Let's look at some of the encouraging signs, some of the numbers that are worth getting maybe even quite a bit excited for. And when you're talking about his analytical profile, downfield metrics, as I mentioned, only 29 catches, 556 yards. But those downfield metrics were pretty sweet. 15.2 ADOT, 8th highest in the NFL, and 19.2 yards per reception. That metric, 4th highest in the NFL, and I'm not done. 9.8 yards per target. He was targeted almost 10 yards per target. Not bad. Downfield guy, 13th highest metric amongst qualified wide receivers in yards per target. And of course, he's got Josh Allen throwing the ball. Keon Coleman, big dude. Josh Allen, big dude, big time plays, right? Sometimes let's use a little bro science. Let's not make it difficult. Big arm, big talent, downfield, big plays. What's changed? Well, they did not bring back Amari Cooper, and they didn't bring in an Amari Cooper replacement. They extended Khalil Shakir. He'll have his role in the slot, but they didn't bring anyone else in to warrant any type of targets or threaten Keon Coleman on the outside. This is Keon Coleman's job to lose on the outside. He is going to be a primary pass catcher for Josh Allen this year, going into year 2. And Coleman, we all knew that he was a receiver that was projectable. He wasn't really a guy that we were projecting to be good immediately. We were projecting him to develop, someone that would take some time, someone that maybe would need a year under his belt before his breakout. Year 2 is loading. Year 2 could be big for the big-time wide receiver in Buffalo. And as of right now, he's an 11th round projection based on his current ADP numbers. So you're getting a bit of a discount. You're allowed to kind of use him on your bench or in your flex and see how it rolls out. That's why I'll have a lot of Keon Coleman post round 10, put him on my bench, see if he has those big numbers. And in best ball, woo, we're going to love him best ball in those redraft best ball drafts that we do. We're going to love him there because we don't have to worry about the down games. We're just going to feast on the big games. But in 2025, I'm expecting a lot more big games than he had in 2024. That's why he is a second-year breakout candidate for Keon Coleman, Trey Benson, Caleb Williams, Romelle Dunn, and my guy Drake May. Those are the 5 most exciting second-year breakouts heading into 2025. I'm Matty Kiwo. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you like this video. Head over to SouthHarmonFF.com. Get our warp tool. Get some merch, some of this sick merch. You can head over there and get a bunch of other tools. Koopa is always developing nice tools. There's a new tool that you're going to have to go to South Harmon FF to check out right now. Make sure you follow me on X. I'm at Matty Kiwoom. Again, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and keep rocking with South Harmon. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.